Boundless Spirit, pushing the limits of talk radio with Charlene Springer.
Hello, my name is Nalanie Chellaram, and I am on Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer.
Welcome to Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer. And again, it's always great to be here because it's always interesting who shows up. And today we have an incredible guest, Nalanie Chellaram. And she is in Europe and talking to us today. And what's really interesting is I looked at her background, and I have no label, in parentheses, I'm doing air parentheses now. I have no label for her because she is actually one of the most well-rounded people that I've come across in a while in looking. So I can't wait to play with her. She is coming, she was born in Hong Kong and coming from a really distinguished family in Hong Kong. And ironically, her parents nurtured her as, they were Hindu. So she had that spiritual side. And then she went on to be educated in a Catholic convent. So again, very interesting mixing the two worlds. And she had as a friend of the families, Sri Swami Satyananda. And, he is her beloved Guru Dev. And, she studied in the United States, philosophy, psychology, and of course, fine arts. She married and moved to Gibraltar, where she has her 2 kids. She has her own successful fashion business, popular dancing, yoga. She's done almost everything that people want to do and haven't been able to do a fraction of what she's done. And I can't wait to see what else you do. I can't wait. So welcome, Nalanie.
Such a nice welcome and such a warm welcome. I'm so happy to meet you. And I'd like to start off by saying namaste, which means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you.
Yes, namaste. It was my favorite word in India because it was just such a beautiful word. Wherever you went, you got namaste. And yeah, it was so beautiful.
And it's so nice because, when you put your hands in prayer position and you have the thumbs right against your heart,
yes.
It's a reminder. It's such a nice, warm feeling. And to remind each one of us that each of us have a heart. And it's so important to be aware of somebody else's feelings and where they are coming from.
Yeah, I think that was my a lovely part of being there. It was just experiencing namaste. You never really think about it, but it's like, wow, because I've heard other people say it, but it doesn't come from that space. And there, it was so genuine. It was a part of what they did, and you couldn't help but want to reciprocate.
Yeah, it comes naturally, huh? It really does come naturally. When people come with such warmth, you want to give it back, and which is what, spiritual teaching is all about, respecting each other and understanding the oneness in all things, Hard to do when you're living in this world with such diverse personalities. It's hard to do. So it takes years of practice to really understand this truth, and the practice. Yeah.
Now, what you've done is you have Hindu parents. And
That's
you
right.
went to a Catholic convent. How do you do that?
I was very blessed to have a wonderful father, My father was an extremely spiritual man. In fact, I would say he was really my first guru. And, he just was interested in the education, and happened that this convent was very close to our house, and they heard that the education was brilliant there with these American nuns, actually Maryknoll nuns. He always said to us as we grew up that God was everywhere, It didn't matter, church or temple, whatever, so long as you had faith and you were filled with gratitude and start the day with prayer, your life would be okay. So I was very blessed to go to this wonderful Catholic school. Actually, most people I meet today, because I have a lot of Catholics coming to my talks, they kind of go, "Oh my God, my nuns were really difficult. They all talked about hell and heaven." I said, I really was quite lucky. My nuns were quite lovely. They used to sing, and because I was on stage with them, we would dance and sing, and I used to go to the convent early in the morning and pray with them because they were so lovely. So I was very blessed to be part of that school. I still feel that today.
Because you do know that that's not normal, right? That you get both worlds.
I do know, because I've met so many people since, including my very own husband. He used to say, "Oh my God, being brought up," because he went to Catholic school and he didn't have a good experience, So he couldn't understand how I just love the experience.
And then you found Swami. Swami Sachidananda.
Sat Chid Ananda. The word actually means truth, Sat, Chid, consciousness or knowledge, and Ananda means bliss, to be in truth, knowledge, and bliss absolute, which is what we all look for.
There's actually a song or a prayer, an old Sanskrit prayer, Sachina Ananda. Om Sachinananda. Oh, I can't remember now. I can't believe it. There's a beautiful prayer with that. I learned that when I was there.
Really? Yes, there is. Sachinananda Om. Yes, there is.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's just reminding ourselves that's who all of us are, and to get back into that space while we have this wonderful experience on earth, which is just a journey and temporary. When we forget that space, we get so lost and so troubled, So, so I was so blessed to meet this wonderful master. Actually, when I was 5 years old, like I said, my father was a very spiritual man. So, as soon as he made some money in life, he invited all religious people from all different backgrounds. He had Buddhist monks. He had, a saint. I met Mother Teresa because of my dad as well. Yeah, I was very blessed. She came to the Indian club where I met her. And prior to that, when I wasn't in Hong Kong, she came to our home there. And my dad had loads of, Hindu monks, whatever. But, for me, he was a bit skeptical even when I was young because I saw so many come in and many always asking for money. And I just, okay, I understand you need money to do this and that. But, your spirituals and your focus, how come it's just money? My dad isn't even a monk and his focus is service, and love. I was really skeptical. But Swami Sachidananda was very different. I met him when I was 5, when he was invited home, and I came from a family where we all live in a joint family system. I know this is quite hard to understand. My father had 5 brothers, 2 sisters. The girls moved out when they got married, but the brothers stayed together, and we had little apartments in this big house. So I was brought up with all my cousins. And I remember when Swami Sachidananda first came, he was tall, this long head, this white beard, and we thought, Moses! Kids were lined up in our corridor, in our entrance in our home. And as he walked in, and he spread out these huge arms, I'll never forget it, because it was such a great image for a child. And we all just ran naturally to him, pulled his beard, and after that, he became a visitor to our home every year. He would give us yoga lessons, and we just loved him. But at that time, like I said, as I went into my teenage years, I became extremely skeptical. And then I remember when 1970, it was Woodstock, when Woodstock was on, he was the guru for Woodstock, you know? And I go, well, that's my guru. That's my family's guru. Not my guru, but my family's guru.
And he's in the middle of rock and roll.
Yeah, wasn't it brilliant? You know, it was only many, many years later when I went through some difficult periods in my life and questioning what is life, what is death, as we all do. It's when I really was questioning that he came into my life again. And this time, after having certain experiences, I realized I needed, for me personally, I needed a master to guide me. I needed it to, you know, it's very easy to talk about spirit and God, but I was very disillusioned. And so I thought, is there really a God? Is there a spirit? You know, what is all this about? You know, my concept, I hadn't understood the real meaning of consciousness at that time. And God to me was still this person, and heaven and hell still deeply ingrained into my system, which I didn't agree with, which I really didn't agree with. But there was like no way out. And my version of the divine was kind of like, oh, one who's, you know, who's watching you all the time. And of course, when I went through this questioning period and Gurudev, I call him Gurudev, appeared at a perfect time in my life. It really is true. It really is true. When the student is ready, the master appears. And I saw the way, just this aura, just the way of being, the silence and stillness and the peace I felt just being around that energy field, you know? Just being around that energy field. And it changed my life, and I realized I wanted to be like that.
You're like, I want more of that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, exactly. I want more of that. And so he became my living master. I had an experience while he came here to visit. And I asked him, you know, I said, I had this incredible experience, and I've been resisting, but now I know I need help. I need a teacher, you know. I need a teacher to teach me. We have teachers for everything, I realized. Why was I so skeptical? What a silly girl I was. You know, you want to learn anything, you need a teacher. You want to learn dancing, you need a teacher. You want to, you know, my father used to say, if you want to do your hair, you go to the hairdresser, you know, well, you need a teacher. So why was I resisting a spiritual teacher? It was odd. It was really interesting.
And so then you started doing yoga with him and doing what else with him?
No, fine. So after that whole trip, you know, it's funny that we're talking about this because this whole week, the last few weeks, I have been, I talk at our yoga center in Gibraltar every Wednesday when I'm not traveling. And they asked me to speak about lessons I learned with my beautiful master, you know?
Yeah.
So I started off, and this is the truth, you know, what happened was I went through this really, really difficult, I think it's really important that I explain the background, right? I was going through a really difficult time. I was running a dance school, running a shop with my husband, fashion, etc. Then suddenly in the evenings I used to teach dance, my 2 children in my hands, but they grew up. And Gibraltar at that time was a very small place with the frontier closed. And because I traveled all over the world, and I didn't want my children to be small-minded, I wanted them to be international. So my husband and I both decided to send them to boarding school, which they really wanted to go to. But it was the worst thing for me because for me, my children were, you know, the reason why I was. But they were very excited to go. And of course, when they went, and then after that, at a dance school, my knees went from all those years standing in a shop and then dancing in the evening. And the doctor said, you just can't do this anymore. And then I thought, what is left? Just work to make money, to send my kids. You know, I was like very disillusioned. And of course, some people at that time had caused me some harm. So I was like, and, you know, angry. And then I went home. I remember telling my husband, I'm going home. I'm fed up with life. You know, what is the reason? What is, you know, I can't be with my family in Hong Kong and everything I love leaves me. What's the point of life? And then I went home, I had a good cry, and I said, if there is a God, you're going to show your face. And then the very next day, now, I hadn't seen Sri Swami Satchidananda for 15 years because I got married and I was living in Gibraltar, although he still visited my family in Hong Kong. I get a phone call. Nalanie, I'm going to be at Zinal for a peace conference that's in Switzerland. Can I come and visit you?
Wow.
Yeah, really, it was wow. And at that time, I didn't know what to do. So I called my mom in Hong Kong. Mom, what do I do with the guru? How do I look after him? No, darling, Hindu custom, you just bow at his feet. Don't let him pay for anything. You look after him. It's a great honor to have him in your home. Make sure you do everything right. So that's what I did. I organized a talk for him in Gibraltar, thinking nobody knew about yoga in those days. Nobody. But I tried. I put it on the local newspaper. And my husband designed a poster, and the talk was going to be world peace. And then I thought, where am I going to put him? Put him up in a hotel. By that time, I had a wonderful client for the shop. We used to sell high fashion. And she came in one day, and I was telling her about this Swami Satchidananda that was about to come. And she was so excited. She was English. And she goes, oh, Nalanie, I really all my life wanted to meet a real live guru. Not only that, the guru of Woodstock. Can I please house him? She had a huge villa with 10 bedrooms. And she said, you guys can all stay. Bring your family, bring your kids. And don't worry about a thing. I'll get chefs from UK and he'll have food. And I thought, wow, how did that happen? Oh my God, really around great masters, wonderful things happen. I've since learned,
Yes.
In those days I didn't realize, how amazing it was at that time. I think it was just everything just happened, And of course, after he came and spending a week with him and listening to him talk and watching him, just being around, I just made it my job to look after him, like my mom said. But being around that beautiful, peaceful I don't know how to explain it. It's just a quiet, peaceful, all-encompassing feeling of love and light, being in that energy field, and Charlene, you've met many great people, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's an energy thing, right?
You feel them before they even come to the door, kind of thing.
Exactly that, it well.
Yeah.
And since then, I only had that feeling with the Dalai Lama when I met him in Lisbon. So, and that amazing warmth. And I just, like you said earlier on, I just wanted more of it. So I asked him, and this is what I've been talking about the last 3 weeks, actually, so it's really fresh in my mind. He said, I asked him, I said, I've had such an amazing experience with you. While he was talking, that talk in Gibraltar about world peace, he was in front of me on stage. And by the way, I thought nobody would turn out, and 150 people turned out. It was quite brilliant, really the magic. Anyway, so I just saw, his image changing in front of me into divine other images. And I thought, I must be imagining this. So I pinched who's sitting next to me. And, I'm Indian, I'm quite dark skinned. And I went, why? And he goes, oh my God, what's happened to my wife? And I just said, pinch me, pinch me. What's she doing in the middle of a talk asking me to pinch her? So anyway, when the talk was over, I told him, I had this experience twice. And I was like, really, I was so humbled by this feeling. Really kind of like it got to me, I'm not prone to imagining things. I'm quite logical, I think. I think, my husband saw my face and he realized it was really sincere. And so anyway, after that, I spoke to my guru's secretary and I said to her, I had this vision. What do I do with this? "Oh, Nalanie, you're not the only one." And then I was so relaxed. She said, two other people, he speaks worldwide, all over the world, and, two other people have said they've had this experience with him. So I said, I think, Pramanjali, I really now think I'm going to ask him if he will be my guru. What do you think? And she said, of course, just talk to him. So I was like, all of a sudden, from a family guru, I felt so in awe, energy. So, but I took up the courage and I went up to him and I said, Swamiji at that time, can you be my guru? Can you teach me how to find this peace? I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be, I want to live the way you live. Gently, serving, happily, peaceful. And he laughed and he said, of course, Nalanie, of course. And then I said to him, what do I do with my life? How do I change? What do I do? And he said, till this day, I give everybody these instructions when they feel totally lost. I give them these instructions. He said, love where you are. Love where you are. Accept where you are. Purify your mind. Meditate. When you are ready, God will use you.
Wow.
Just those 3 simple instructions. I went home and I realized, okay, no wonder I have no peace. I'm not loving where I am. I'm complaining. So step number 1, oh my God, that's a huge job to change that. Step number 2, purify your mind. What does purity mean? I read in the Psalms, in the Beatitudes, blessed are the pure, they shall see God. And later on, when I took up the study of the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, there is a saying that's yogas chitta vritti narodaha tada vastuve swarupe vastanam, which means the restraint of the modification of the mind stuff is yoga. And then the siya abides in its own true nature. In other words, when the mind becomes really calm and peaceful, you start to understand who you really are, what your true nature is. So at that point, I thought, pure, what does it mean? And I thought of water. Water is pure. It's neutral. It's neutral. It's just neutral. And yet, without water, we wouldn't live. We need water to live, And then I thought, that's what I need to do with my mind. And then meditate. And I actually asked him, I said, meditate, I don't know how. And he said, you've read enough books. You know how. And it's true, because up till that point, I was always a searcher, because I come from a very spiritual family, but, you kind of forget it at teenage years, you fall in love and you get so wrapped up in materialism and life and how you look and things like that. That I had lost the depth of the understanding of, even though I'm reading these books, I was looking at it studying it too superficially, So I thought, yes, I had read many books, but I haven't done it. I haven't done those practices that the books have suggested. So that was how I started studying. I just, the very next day, because I really wanted this piece, I made a little altar for myself. I put a candle on it. I started with just a candle, and then I put my master's picture on it after a couple of weeks, till I was quite sure I really wanted the master. And then I just sat down and worked on my mind. And I saw when I sat down and watched my mind, Charlene, I got such a shock. I always thought I was not a bad person. I realized, oh my God, I am not really a very good person. I had so many angry thoughts, unforgiving thoughts for people who had caused me pain, and then the rest of it, the mishmash, I had to do my groceries and cooking and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I thought, what a lot of stuff that, no wonder I'm in a mess.
Mixed signals, as they say.
Yeah. So like, oh my God, I really need to look at myself. And, I heard my master say at that talk in Gibraltar, he said, when you point one finger at someone, your index finger, there are 4 more pointing back at you. Wow. And if you try pointing the fingers, look at the 3 lower ones pointing back at you, and the thumb is your trigger. So, and so I remembered that. So I realized now my work was not outside and trying to change the world and trying to change everybody, thinking I was a peaceful person, thinking I was better than everybody else. What a joke. What a big joke this was. And now I was like, I have to look at myself first and foremost. And that's how my practices actually started. Simply just doing that.
Why do you think people look so much outside of themselves?
It's a society, what we have learned. It's also, I just think, the way of the world. We come out to this world. We're brought up to think, you've got to make money. You've got to look nice. You've got to do this if you want to. It's just all advertising, and we're always trying to prove ourselves to everybody else, keep up with the Joneses, as they would say. And it's just the world, the way we're brought up, always thinking that this world is all there is. I mean, this earth is all there is. We seem to think that we are immortal in this life. We seem to really not see the reality that we only live a few years on this earth, according to eternity. So many people don't want to talk about death because we think we're going to live forever. So I think that we get so attached to all our material belongings. We think, oh my God, this is mine. So we fear losing things. We fear losing relationships. We fear losing. So all this fear, because we based all our interest in the outside world, because that's what we were taught. That's what we taught from the moment we are born. It's all related. And so I think that's why we do that. I don't think it's a fault. I think actually that is our backdrop of the field. We come to Earth in this field to learn that we are a spirit. I think it's actually that we're thrown into this university. This is a university, as my master would say. Yeah, we're thrown here to learn. Okay, you want to find yourself and come back home? Okay, have some fun, experience. And that's how I feel. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So now, let's put it this way. How do you, when you're in all of his teachings, was there anything that you were not agreeing with when you first started?
You know what? There were doubts. Mm-hmm. There were doubts. I really went into this because I wanted to find peace. So, like I said, I don't believe in rigidity. I believe in things flowing. So there were doubts. Is it only that monks can do it and householders can't find God? But my master was very wise. Maybe most of his disciples felt that way. Those that put the robes on, or people who think you only have to be a certain way before you can find God. Well, my master, the reason why I think I fell in love with him is, like my dad, his teaching was, truth is one, paths are many. Let us live in peace and joy. Truth is one, paths are many. Let us live in love and light. And he was so universal. I watched him with people like I watched my dad. He could be with the poorest of poor, and he could be the richest of rich, and they behaved with the same love towards them. And so when I saw this universality, then I didn't have the doubts. Mm-hmm. But what I was a little afraid of is, for me, I didn't want to belong to any institution.
A cult, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. That's why I resisted so many years, right? Mm-hmm. But then I thought, that's the, I started to see that was my own mental resistance, and I was boxed in my narrow-mindedness. Even thinking like that was narrow-minded, And why did I box things up? That things have to look a certain way to be right. Again, I was making judgments on how spirit should look, or Since then, I've learned so much, and then I realized I had to break these doubts by accepting. I found my master. And now I just have to deepen my practices. Because one thing he did say to me, later on as I grew, I kept on calling him and asking him questions. And he said he took another trip to Gibraltar, actually took 2 more to see us. Mm-hmm. And the second trip he came here with by then I had lots of students. They were all longing to meet him. And he said to all of us as he was leaving for the airport, he said, remember, your job is to find the guru within you, the teacher within you. Mm. Use me as long as you like as a crutch. Once you find the guru within, drop your crutch, and then we can walk together and laugh together. Mm. And you know what? I love that. That freedom. It just made me feel so good. I said, I've chosen the right master. There was none, you have to follow me, you have to do this, because I would have run a mile. It's just, you have to purify your own mind. You have to be aware yourself. Do you know, the teachings were for me to grow spiritually. And I just thought, wow, because, I feared, because you read so many stories about gurus who have cults. Mm-hmm. We read about David Koresh, and then we read Jim Jones and all this other, many, many different cults. There's so many. And, because it just made me feel a little sick, because I believe finding God and the divine, it should give you freedom. This is what the scriptures say, moksha, freedom, not tying you up to anything. So, So that was my early battle. But once I got through that and I saw my master, he didn't teach like that. He taught us to find ourselves. He used to say, you look upon me as a guru, but I don't consider myself a guru. You call me a guru. You give me that status. But really, you need to find the gurus within all of us. It's all of us. You need to find that by living the right way. And all the religions or traditions, if you look at all of them, they all teach us to be good and do good. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand how the world is arguing about, religions are arguing with each other and creating wars, because that's not the teaching. They lost it. It's all their ego, is ownership. Again, you see, whenever there's ownership, I'm better than you, or you belong to me. This is the only way. Run a mile. Just run a mile, because nobody owns anybody. We're all one part of this great consciousness. And we're here just to, my belief system now is just to share. If we find a little piece, share it. And if you're in a horrible mood, don't stay in your room and lock yourself in. You have the right to disturb the world. And come out when you're ready.
That is incredible. So then how does because you're coming from dance. What kind of dance did you do?
Oh, I did modern jazz. Modern jazz, which is kind of like a hip hop, what they'd call hip hop now.
Right. So now how does this fit into, because there was something with the reasoning as to, you still think you chose him, but I think he already knew that you were going to come.
So wise. Charlene, you're so wise. Do you know, because many years later he told me, he said, Nalanie, you were born to be my disciple.
Oh.
Yeah, because, my name, Nalanie, means water lily or lotus flower. And my guru built a lotus temple. So look at that, a lotus temple. The lotus temple that he's built in Virginia is something quite amazing. It's got 12 altars of all the different religion. One if you're an atheist and have no belief system, and then another altar, your own tradition or your own religion that you make up. And in the middle is a white beam of light that hits the top and splits into 12. And that shows it doesn't matter what you believe in, we all come from the same place. So that's the Lotus Temple in Virginia, Yogaville, Virginia. And he built that. So, and then my last name after marriage is Chellaram. And he told me, he said, Chella means disciple, and Ram is disciple of Ram. I don't know if you know the story of Lord Rama.
No, well, some of it, if you'd like to share that, yeah.
It was such a long story. But
well, the gist of it.
Okay, Lord Rama was son of this king, and he was a perfect son. He was such a good son. He respected his father. He loved his people. He had all the great qualities of truthfulness, nonviolence. So his father had decided that he would be the next king. But his father had married 3 wives. And he had promised the youngest wife, because he fell in love with her later on and she was stunning. And he said, I'll give you anything. Just marry me. So she said, okay, give me 1 boon, and when I need it, I will ask you. So what happened? She had also a son called Bharat. So she developed this jealousy because she had a maid. It's really quite interesting because this is so typical of life. Who told, how can you let Rama be the king? You are the king's favorite. Your son Bharat should be the king. Putting all this stuff in her head.
Yeah.
Of life, right? So she really got it in her head. Oh my God, it's true. But everybody loved Rama. Even her son Bharat loved Rama. And Bharat happened to be away, from that city because he was fighting another war somewhere else. So he didn't even know what his mom was up to. So anyway, she goes to the king and she said, you promised me a boon. So please now I'm going to ask you to give me that boon. And the boon I want is that you make my son Bharat king. And he goes, ask me anything. Please don't ask me this. And I know Rama's the perfect person to rule this nation. Bharat is beautiful, but Bharat loves Rama too. And no, because it has to be, that's the boom, and you promise. So, the king was brought up, once you make a promise, you cannot break it. So he asked her to reconsider. She wouldn't. So he had to say yes to her request. So what happened was, with a broken heart, he went and told Rama, Rama, this is what's happened. But then she comes and says, no, that's not the end of the boon. I want him to be away from here for 14 years. He needs to go to the forest with his wife and his family and just get away from here. Because if he's here, Bharat will not become the king. Bharat will want him to be the king. So the king said, I can't do this. And Rama was so hurt to see his father suffer and cry. He goes, Father, you made a promise. I will go and I'll come back in 14 years. Please, you have to keep your promise. Please, don't worry. You made this promise, you have to keep it. So anyway, it so happens that he went away to the forest. Everybody was very upset. Bharat came as he was leaving and said, oh, Rama, how can you go? My mother made a terrible mistake. I don't know how she did this horrible thing. And Rama said, look, it's already done. And my father already promised, I'll come back. You run the nation till I come back. Anyway, while he was in the forest, he had a beautiful wife called Sita. And there was this king from Sri Lanka, or Colombo, you can call it now, Sri Lanka, who heard that she was one of the most beautiful women in the world. And he had yogic powers. In other words, he could change himself to looking like a woman, whatever. So anyway, he one day when Rama and his brother Lakshman Because his other brother Lakshman said, if my brother Rama's leaving, I will not stay. I have to follow him. He is my guru, you know? So this is the love of two brothers, right? They went out one day to get some food, and they told Sita, we've made this ring around so that, you know, don't allow anybody in, because, you know, there are people that want to hurt us. But then Ravana, you know, disguised himself as an, I think it's an old lady or dear, I don't even remember now. Anyway, he slipped through the net because she felt sorry, and he kidnapped her and took her to Lanka. So when they came back, they were distraught, Lakshman and Rama, and then began the war. And then there was this story about Hanuman, who was the monkey god, who helps them. And eventually they win the war. And 14 years later, they come back. And this is why we have the celebration Diwali.
I remember Diwali. Yeah.
Celebration of the lights, because good overcomes evil in the end. You know, he defeated Ravana and finally comes home and becomes king. So... that's the whole Ramayana
in a nutshell.
It's brilliant.
Isn't it ironic that it's similar to the story of Jesus in the desert? Or no, Moses in the desert. Was it Moses? Yeah.
Moses.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all similar.
Even
in the Mahabharata, same thing. Arjuna and his family. Again, the evil wants to take over the good. Same thing. And it seems that the good people always have to suffer quite a lot of grievances. They have to go through so many things and tortures, etc. And it always seems to be like a 12, 13-year period. And then after that, the truth comes out. And, you know, really, can I be very truthful, Charlene? In my life now, I've been counseling people for over 25 years, right? And I see this, you know. I see that people struggle for this 12, 13 years with something. And then when they have the knowledge, they suddenly come out of it. It's really quite interesting. Really quite interesting.
Can we change the script?
If you get the knowledge quick, yes.
Because that's my thing. All the things, especially coming, I call myself a recovering Catholic. All the things that you come through, it's always about suffering and, you know, you're sinful and you're bad and you're this. And I'm like, what is that? Are we really like that?
No, absolute nonsense. I mean, if you read Lord Jesus' New Testament, it's so beautiful, isn't it? It's, he says, love each other as I have loved you, and they will know you as my disciple. Isn't that beautiful? And then, he washes the feet of his disciple. He knows that Judas is going to, not deny, that Peter denied him, was going to, tell the others about him for 30 pieces. He was selling for 30 pieces of silver. He knew it. And still he was there at the Last Supper. Do you know, the teaching is really doesn't matter what people do to you. His love was so unconditional. So all the other stuff that we hear in the Catholic Church, about hell and hellfire, I think, it's just a lot of fear-mongering. Fear-mongering power. People, when when people are in fear, they can be controlled. But when you're fearless, you cannot be controlled.
True.
You cannot. You just
true.
You'll forget it. And that's the secret. That's what most people use as hell. But Lord Jesus' teaching wasn't like that at all. And may I tell you a lovely story about that? When my master was here, another trip, I took him to Ronda. Ronda is a beautiful mountain town in Spain, south of Spain. And in there is a lovely cathedral. I love churches and I love all prayer places. I love every place anyway now. But in those days, I used to go into old temples, whatever it was, wherever there was that kind of energy. And I took my master there. And, it was really quite interesting because there was a huge crucifix, huge crucifix on one wall, and my master just went across it, faced it, put his hands together, and he just, in the church, chanted Om. All the tourists, there were so many tourists there that day, and they all turned around, and the church was absolutely quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And I'm not joking, Charlene. I literally saw a light from the crucifix to my master. My master, I saw a beam of it. I saw it, and I thought, oh my God, And I was torn, I was torn with being embarrassed and thrilled, that kind of feeling, And anyway, after that, he walked towards me, my master, and he said, "Come, Nalanie, come." And then there was this confessional box. And in that, he just jumped into it. And I thought, uh-oh, he's going to get in trouble. And then he opened this little window, which was so cute. He opened the window and said, "Nalanie, come." And, I'd already been meditating for quite some time by then. So I could hear myself think, right? Uh-huh. I got good at it at that time. I hear myself thinking, uh-oh, what have you see what's been brainwashed? What have I done wrong?
Right.
That was the first thought. Just because he said come and there was a confessional box. You see, we have these preconceived ideas that don't belong to us. Anyway, so I walk up into that and said, what have I done wrong? And I look at him and he looks at me and he says, "Nalanie, how dare you call yourself a sinner? How dare you? You are a child of God." And you know what? It just shifted my consciousness forever. This thing of original sin, I hadn't realized because of the Catholic school, it was deep in my system.
Yeah, it's a shackle.
I hadn't realized it was still there. Mm-hmm. I hadn't. But obviously I thought, oh my God, what I'd done wrong. That means I felt that. And he sensed that. How dare you call yourself a sinner? You are a child of God. And after that, I kept saying, wow, I'm a child of God. Everybody makes mistakes. How many times do I forgive my children? Will not this energy forgive me more? Didn't Peter ask Lord Jesus, how many times should we forgive? And he answered 70 times 7. Does not my Father in heaven do more for you every day? So where did we get caught in all that nonsense?
And they teach kids, they start very young.
Yes.
With these teachings.
Very young. And the kids get so scared. But I had a student, she sent her child to a Catholic school. And I love her. She's so brilliant, And the child came back saying, crying. And the mother said, "Why are you crying?" "Oh, Mommy, my teacher said that I did something bad, so Lord Jesus is going to put me in hell."
Whoa.
My God, she said, what a lot of nonsense. And, she loved Gurudev's teachings, and she read some stuff to her from his books. And then next day she went to the school. She said, "I will take you to the courts if you do this to my daughter."
Great.
And I just thought, great, good on her. Good on her. Because they all got pretty scared after that. When you're fearless, you move mountains.
That's
everybody. How can you do that? How can you do that?
Now, one of the things you do is you've gotten quite a few humanitarian awards, including one with Queen Elizabeth, and that was 2008, which was awesome. Recognized for your services to humanity. So you're basically following in your guru's footsteps. Then, I'm sorry?
I hope so.
Well, why do you think you have such a call? Because first, remember, you started to do this for yourself. When did the call that you had to share this with humanity come about?
Well, after 5 years of meditating on my own, I experienced a lot of peace. I started to change within myself. I started to be happy. I started to laugh. I stopped blaming my husband for all my miseries. And even more beautiful, and my relationship and my kids were beautiful. I was so much happier. And I really was not looking to teach at all. But my master called me up and he said, Nalanie, it's time for you to teach. And I go, but Gurudev, I'm really not ready. I'm still a student. At that point, I hadn't taken any courses or anything. I don't know anything. This is all self-study. I've always, I have no teacher in Gibraltar. I only have you, so it's books and a phone call once a month, and you send me these tape of the months, and I listen to your tape every single day. In those days were cassettes.
Right.
And I said, you really know, I'm not a teacher, I'm a student. And he goes, Nalanie? And I go, really, Gurudev, I'm not ready. He called me 3 or 4 times. And, I kept on saying, I'm not ready. And he slammed the phone down at me. I still wasn't. And then it was just after Christmas, I'll never forget. And it was, I think, 1990. And it was, I get this dream, really, literally. I know it sounds really corny, but all my messages throughout my life come in dreams. Even when I used to teach dance, I used to see the whole dance in my dream before I would choreograph it. And so I had this dream. I was sitting in a park with a very good friend of mine, and she was telling me off, saying, oh my God, Nalanie, why don't you teach us? You're so selfish. And you don't want to teach us. And I was answering, no, it's not that I don't want to teach us. I really don't know anything. I'm only learning myself. And then suddenly there was this angelic figures on top of her saying to me, no, Nalanie, you're just a coward. You are just a coward. You are just selfish. You are so selfish. You don't want to teach what you learn. And I go, no, that's not the reason. Yes, you are. And I woke up in a dream and I go, okay, I'm going to do this. Called my master and I said, Gurudev, I'm going to do this. But if nobody comes the first time, I'm not going to do it anymore. Deal? And he laughed. He just laughed. So very quickly, I went to a community center. Happened to be a Catholic community center. I didn't know about what I was going to do at that point because later on they asked me to leave. But and the gentleman knew me as a dance teacher, so I said, I want to teach some classes. So he probably thought it was just dance classes or something. He said, of course. So I rented a room, and I was working in the shop at that time. So I told my husband, would you mind? We got some stuff and I'll do all my windows and decorations beforehand. And would you mind I take two hours off on a Wednesday morning and teach? I say, it won't last long, probably 2 weeks, that's it. Mm-hmm. But what had happened, people had seen me. Gibraltar's a small place, so they knew me as a dance teacher, fashion designer. So they noticed something in me. They noticed. And they had asked me those few years, will you, can you tell me what you're doing? And I used to say, I'm not a teacher. So anyway, those people, I called and I said, look, you've been asking me for these last couple of years. Yes, I'm going to start. And if, anybody who's interested in learning about meditation or, what I know about the mind and how to make yourself happier, just tell them to come. So I never forget the first day I had 12 people. And I remember telling them, listen, don't feel obligated. If you feel you don't want to ever come back again, you don't need to. You really don't need to. Because one lady actually said to me, she said, Nalanie, what if I don't like it? I said, no problems. No problems at all, And, well, it never stopped from there.
It grew from then on in.
It grew from there.
Wow. You're also someone that has suffered loss. You've had the loss of Gurudev. You also had the loss of your husband at the time.
Yeah, I lost my husband actually 8 years ago. But I had I suffered in the sense of the great learning period I call the 14 years. Mm-hmm. I came from a very, like I said, a distinguished family. We were well known in Hong Kong, and We met some incredible beings in our home. And so maybe I had a bit of pride and arrogance in my birth. And of course, when I got married, I was married in Hong Kong, fell in love with my husband, wasn't arranged, which was very, different for Indian girls in those days.
Mm-hmm.
He was dynamic and, was very different from the normal Indian man. He had studied in UK. But then his family had problems with the business here. His uncle was getting very old in Gibraltar. And he said to me, Nalanie, let's go. And my father can't go. My younger brother's too young. And so will you come? Let's go and make a go of it. Mm-hmm. So we went, but I didn't expect to see what I saw in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny town. There was no university because I thought I'd go back and study and learn more. I always loved studying. And oh my God, where have you brought me to? Women didn't study, and it was all about babies. And although I was pregnant myself, I was quite, taken aback. And not only that, there was no money in the business. And so he had two shops, and they were like really badly run and dirty, etc. And the home where they lived was so ugly. I really simply felt like Cinderella. I never seen anything so ugly. Red lino floors, gray walls, an olive green sofa, and a kitchen basket. Oh my God. And, in the Indian tradition, when a girl marries, and especially when you marry for love against their arrangement of marriage, you just don't tell your parents that you're going through a rough time, It was my choice. And actually, my husband was very kind. For the first year, really went through like Cinderella's story. His older uncle was really quite cruel. I wasn't allowed to turn on the heater. I wasn't allowed to have hot water baths because I was wasting money and all that. So, I wasn't allowed to get a washing machine in the house that we were living in. It was weird. I felt I'd gone back in time. But my husband said, why don't you go back to Hong Kong? I'll make some money. Give me a year and a half. And when I make money, you come back. And I said, no, I married you for better or for worse. I guess this is the worst.
I hope.
It was. And, then it got better and better, but I still always remembered the worst. And this is why, I got into this stroppy move of victim mode. Why does everything happen to me? When things were better, I actually couldn't see it because I was so much stuck in the victim Cinderella mode, Mm-hmm. So that made me, because I'd always had such luxury and it really was hard for me to be in this home, that was ugly and not pretty. But anyway, the years, we worked hard and we made money. I worked very hard with my husband. And it wasn't the money. It was just like, I like to be comfortable. I like a warm bath, simple things like a washing machine or like a dishwasher. Well, I didn't get a dishwasher till 23 years later, actually. But I got so used to washing my hand. But I was angry. Although I was doing all these things, I felt like a martyr. I used to complain. And then when I started the study of yoga, I realized that really I was much better off than so many other people. And I was like so rich. And I hadn't seen it because my mind was stuck in victim mode. I couldn't see the beauty in my life. And it was nobody punishing me. It was myself. There was no God punishing me but my own mind. And so to me, that was the first 10, 15 years of my marriage was very difficult because I was so angry. And then that was the painful part. And then, of course, later on, yes, I lost my guru. Then I lost my dad, lost my uncle, lost my two cousins. It was very soon, one after another. And then I was still okay because with all the study of death and dying, and it was one of my favorite subjects, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
They were old, so it was okay, But then when my husband died, wow, that was a total shock. I didn't expect to feel the pain I felt. I felt that somebody had taken my soul and totally ripped it into two. I had never understood that kind of pain. I never could. I never have. And I just don't know how people do it without spiritual knowledge. With all my knowledge, that's what saw me through. But I really don't know how people deal with the pain, after losing a a partner, especially when I was already been with him for 34 years, and we'd gone through so much together that, it was like he finally sold the shop, finally retired to Spain. The last 2 years of his life, we finally went on our first cruise. And then he finally said, he resisted my work for a long time. He was very angry for a time because he felt I had gone into yoga and left the shop. Educator, I said, I'm not working for money anymore. I'd like to I want my life to have a meaning. I want to serve people. So actually, because of all those things, and then that message from the angel when I started, I realized that, so many people suffer unnecessarily. If I had the knowledge, if I had known earlier on, I wouldn't have wasted so many years being angry. And if I had the knowledge, I could work those things out for myself and know that there was a God, my God, which is consciousness, which is truth, knowledge, bliss, absolutes, not a person, that just gives me anything I want. So if my mind is positive, I get that. If my mind is negative, that's exactly what I get. If I believe I'm suffering, I will suffer. The wonderful thing about that energy, it just gives you what you want. It's so loving. Maybe too loving. So yes, those things. And then my daughter had, just before my husband passed, my daughter had a third child, and she was special needs, which for me, I had seen people for so many years who used to complain when they had special needs, they couldn't do it. It was difficult. They were always crying. And, for many years, I felt a lot of compassion and sadness for them. But after my daughter had Talia, and my daughter said, Mom, I don't know why this child has come like this, but she's my gift and she's my angel. And my thing is to give her the best life possible. And from that day, I never felt sorry for anybody who had special needs child. And in fact, our Talia is such an angel to us. She's 9 years old now. We thought she wouldn't live. I saw my daughter struggle, and all of us, weekends, I used to teach during the week, and weekends my daughters used to come because it was a lot. And we used to feed Talia with, like little drops, like you'd feed a bird. I just have the greatest admiration for her because she never, until today, never said, why me, Mom? Her thing is, Mom, I just have to do whatever I can. And now she's, set up a charity here in Spain, which we support, to bring awareness about special needs. She helps so many people. She never stops. In fact, tomorrow I have arranged for her to go to the hairdresser because I said, you need to look after yourself and go and get your hair done and everything done. And I'm taking Talia for the whole afternoon, and day tomorrow night, they come and stay with me quite often because I think it's really important to nurture your family too. That's part of the spirit. You don't leave one thing for another. You make it all holy.
So that's, and this is what some people forget, that they put spirituality in a box. So it's okay, pull that out on Sundays or, certain times during the week, and they have their home life very separate. So this is what you've been able to integrate, huh?
And this is what I think people need to know. And this is why I'm so happy to be a householder and not a monk anymore. After my husband died, I really considered it, And then I thought, my daughter just lost her dad. He was so good. He was so good with the baby. He was so good. He used to pick up the other two grandchildren. He was just wonderful. Just lost her dad. Now she's going to lose her mom? I thought, that was pretty selfish of me. So I put that on hold thanks to Talia. And besides, who's going to help your child for you? Who's going to give her the love and comfort she needs for the mother? Nobody will, And I guess, of course, you have your husband who will do everything for his child, but a mother will, be there when you really need her. And I didn't want to take it over, no, because that was her learning, and what she's done is incredible, but I'd like to be there when she really needs me and to step back and give her advice. She calls me every single day and says, I have this instinct, follow your instinct. The doctors say this, should I do this? No, follow your instinct. Moms know best, and she's always right. And that's my job, really, Mom, how do you make this do? But or I'll pick up the other 2 kids, the 2 older ones, my, best friends. Yeah, so it all happened for the best, because now I can tell people, truthfully, that spirit is in every moment. And I'm just so thrilled that I can be service to my daughter. What's the point? To look after everybody else, all my students, and not look after my own child? There's something wrong in that thinking, A spirit is everywhere. There are only few people who can be like Buddha, who can leave all his family and go, but you have to have a very special kind of person to do that. I'm not special. I just want to live with love. So how can I say I live with love when I'm so selfish? And actually, not becoming a monk is actually the best thing that ever happened to me. So thank God for Tanya, because now I've met a partner who's just absolutely wonderful,
Great. So now, so we need a few words of wisdom to people, because we're ending this segment of our show. We need a few words of wisdom to the people that are listening about the guru within. So what are your words of advice to find that guru within?
Spend some time with yourself. Make time for silence. Breathe. Enjoy that silence. Have some time in that peace. We recharge our phones every day, but we don't recharge our energy. The world is so busy, so noisy, so much going on. Please, if you love yourself, recharge, breathe in a few deep breaths, and find that peace within you. It's right there. Look inside, and you'll find it. And that would be my advice.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Nalanie, for being on the show with us. Woohoo! And we can't wait to hear from you in the Woohoo Hour. So thanks again for listening to Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer and our wonderful Nalanie Chellaram for her incredible wisdom and understanding, and her experiences that will help us on our journey. Thanks again.
Boundless Spirit goes off the rails. Next up in our members-only segment, the Woo-Woo Hour. Whether it's happening on the planet, off the planet, or inside the planet, host Charlene Springer, expert guests, and you dare to go there in the Woo-Woo Hour.